Bringing Stark back to life in the Avengers. So the influence of stories and media and shaping culture and how it could actually be useful.
Yeah. Do you want to go?
So, there are behind the scenes, or rather not behind the scenes, but scenes that are deleted. So deleted scenes.
Deleted scenes in the Avengers, the first movie. First Avengers.
Where it shows somebody, waitress escaping and Captain America saving them. It just shows like an angle of why these people might need superheroes like Captain America at all in the show. But we were talking about how there are a lot of scenes that could be really good and brought to this level that are a level above where everything normally is, which is just kind of okay. So there's a lot of scenes that are crap, like why is this here, or it's just poorly done or something. And then the majority of movies, when they're considered good, it's just that they haven't screwed up a lot of things, so they're okay all the way through. But then there are some scenes that are quite obviously elevated to this next level. And nobody seems to know how to do that with the more nuanced and mundane scenes. So an example that we were talking about, it's like you could make these throughout every movie, but is how I was talking about this one time, or this one story I heard of. There's a group of coworkers at like just some shopping mall or something, that one of them was on the ground and dying, and there's this guy who was a paramedic on like the end of an aisle or something, who was watching these people stand around, and none of them really knew what to do, and they were just kind of looking at this body on the ground. And then eventually somebody came by with like a little defibrillator or something, and this paramedic guy's like, it's probably way too late now, nobody did anything, and he was on the far side of the store, so he was going to run over and like, okay, what's going on? And if we had something like, say, at the end of the Marvel movie, which chances are every one of them had seen Marvel's Avengers, like the first movie, because it's such a pop culture thing, and almost everybody has seen it at this point, especially in the English-speaking world, that if at the end, when Tony Stark is on the ground and Hulk catches him, and then all the Avengers just stand around while Tony Stark is like dead on the ground, it makes sense that these kids standing around somebody who is having a heart attack or whatever was going on with them were just standing around. Because if the superheroes, who are supposed to be smart, and like one of them's been in the military, two of them are like super spy agents that probably have great understanding of first aid stuff, like Thor and Hulk, you can't expect them to do anything, but the other three just stood there too, just standing around, looking at this body.
Yeah, in the movie The Avengers, when Iron Man falls from the sky and he lands on the ground and he's unconscious, and they think he's dead, Captain America's just shaking his head, Hulk's just standing there, Thor's just standing there.
They're all just useless.
It maybe makes sense for Hulk really not to do anything, but then they actually make him the one who yells and wakes Tony up, and that's like a joke.
And it's just useless.
Rather than Captain America checking his pulse, or
like something that could be really cool is just Black Widow and Hawkeye and Captain America being the three normal people there. Could be like Thor rip off Iron Man's armor. We need to figure out how to bring him back to life, or what's wrong with him, or how he died, or anything. Give him CPR or something, like anything. Those three could have been heroes for really the first time in the movie, and it would have been then maybe
it could
via
have been
their actions when somebody does fall on the ground dying. All of the people in the world who have seen the movie would act similarly and be like, oh, what did they do in the Avengers?
Yeah.
Let's check his pulse. Let's do something. Anything. Instead of stand around. And that's just elevates the scene to, there's more intensity there. There's more character there. It's worth something. And instead it's just thrown away as Hulk yells and wakes him up.
I really feel that maybe we've said so much that it's confusing so far in this Aaron thing. But basically, if you take a scene in a movie that you could add something that actually shows that there's more care involved from the characters actually helping people, in any way. Like we mentioned the deleted scenes. There's other examples in the Marvel movie where they deleted scenes that show that these main characters who are supposed to be superheroes actually care about people, and that it adds elevation to who they are and why they're considered superheroes and all this stuff. And not only would it elevate the scene and make a better movie if you didn't take important moments and instead turn them into gags and jokes and really
And it's not
quick things.
Yeah, and it's not even just gags and jokes. It's just making a scene okay. Like the Hulk screaming at Iron Man to wake him up. That could be the way it ends up at the end when they're trying things, and then you could still have that.
Yeah.
But you just have the scene elevated to have one mildly intelligent person on staff to be like, how do we make this scene better? Like, what would these people actually do? And the answer would be something very obvious of just like they would act somehow. Like if they were somewhat smart, which they're supposed to be. They're two of the top SHIELD agents in Captain America. They're supposed to be superheroes, like elevated people in some way. Like they've been trained to be good and do good, and they are good. And to actually make them heroes, they would act. They would do something. They would be aware enough to respond adequately to a situation. And then you have a scene where they try something, anything. And now the scene is worth having around.
Yeah.
You could still have the gay at the end. It could still not work. Anything could happen. But the scene is worth having.
Not only that, then it can inspire actual real life situations like these people in the store who saw someone on the ground who just stood around and didn't actually do anything because they would have seen the Marvel movie.
Like, oh, how can people do things here? What can people do in any situation? And when it's like those, they're, well, almost, what do you call them? Forum accounts or polls where people like vote in on certain things. And every time people test that, it's like people greatly underestimate until those questionnaires or whatever show up how much they are influenced by the stories that they encounter and by media and all this other stuff. It's just, people talking about how much the stories that they read or watched as a kid have shaped the way that they respond and act around others and the decisions they make and stuff like that. So if the media isn't functional, then it makes sense that everybody else is having trouble being functional too. All it takes is like a bit of sitting there and looking at it and be like, how do we make this good? And then somebody can make it good instead of just like, we got the scene, let's just do it as it is, and it turns into jokes all the time. Or not even jokes, just